Hey everyone, Kitty and Sergeant Steel here, and today I want to talk to you about the Hellhound. What an absolute iconic unit, probably just as classic as the Lehman Russ and the Basilisk is the Hellhound, and I really love these models. They're a little bit older now, but I think they hold up extremely well. Most of the Chimera chassis models do. I think except for maybe the Basilisk could use an update, in my opinion. But enough about that. Let's dive into unit and talk about what makes this unit special and how I would recommend using it. So, as always, we start out with the stats, and we have movement 10, toughness 10, ooh, 2 up save, 11 wounds, leadership 7, and OC 3. So it is a little bit of a tougher vehicle, right? No T9, it is T10, and with a 10-inch move, so it's kind of it quickly maneuvers around the table and has some decent defense. So that's something good, especially with that like 11 wounds and a 2 up save. These things can be decently resilient and actually stick around for a while in your matches. Now, let's talk about its war gear. And it has a number of options, and one of these I've actually magnetized to help showcase that. But let's talk through it. First, it has the chem cannon option, which I have right here. It has a heavy bolter or a heavy flamer, which can go on the front of the hull there. It has a hunter killer missile, which is optional. None of mine are built with those at the moment. It has an inferno cannon, which is the flamer on the turret. It has a melta cannon option, and it has a multi-melta on the hull option. And then it also has armored tracks for melee. Now, I'm going to talk about those 3 specialty weapons, the chem cannon, inferno cannon, and melta cannon, in just a moment when we get into tactics and strategies. I just want to highlight that there are a number of weapons that you can take, including 4, 3 on the hull, and then the hunter killer missile optional that you can add on, plus the 3 turret weapons. So it does have a decent number of options available to customize this unit. Now let's talk about what makes this unit special, and that is its ability. It has Flush Them Out. In your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit that was hit by 1 or more of those attacks. Until the end of the phase, that unit cannot have the benefit of cover. So in other words, you shoot something with the Hellhound, and it loses cover. That is really good, and really good for a number of reasons, because you can really pair that in different ways. One, your opponent will, and this is going ahead and just diving into tactics and strategy here, your opponent will often hide their units in terrain or behind cover, low walls, pipes, and so forth. Doesn't matter what it is. If they're receiving cover from it and then you shoot it with a Hellhound, any of the weapons, and they're actually hit, which, by the way, the chem cannon and the inferno cannon have torrent, so they auto hit. That means they lose cover. That can apply for a number of different things, including your artillery, your infantry shooting at them, other tanks and vehicles. Doesn't matter what it is. That model, regardless of what the model is, monster, vehicle, infantry, bikers, doesn't matter, loses the benefit of cover. And I think that is really good. And to just change your opponent's save by 1 point after, hopefully, dealing damage to them. So let's talk about their weapons and then talk about how I might use these. So first, let's talk about the chem cannon, which I think is probably one of the least popular options, but it's actually not bad. And we'll talk about why. So the chem cannon is anti-infantry 2 plus. Okay? So that means if you put one of these, right, I got my magnetized, so I can just kind of pop it in here. You shoot anti-infantry 2 up. That means a Space Marine, regardless if it's T4 or T5, you just wound it on a 2. Doesn't matter. I love that ability. Then it also has Torrent, which means it auto hits. Wow. Don't threaten usually the hitting on a 4-up guard army with a good time. We love just auto hitting things, so that's very nice. It only has a 12-inch range. So you really got to get close and personal with the chem cannon in order to hit anything. So you're really going to have to drive up and get into your opponent's army to be able to hit with this. But with movement 10 and decent toughness, that may not be a problem. you'll get D6 plus 1 attacks, so guaranteed 2 up to 7. You're going to average about 4.5 shots that are auto hitting, okay? 4.5 shots, auto hitting, and if you're shooting at infantry, wounding on a 2-up, which means you're going to get 3 to 4 wounds almost guaranteed every time you shoot this, or statistically, that's what should be happening. Up to 7 of those. And then you'll be wounding 5 or 6 times with those 7 shots, accounting for the ones, right? It is strength 2. Doesn't matter because it's anti-infantry 2-up. So you're not going to be shooting monsters and vehicles with this. You're just going to be shooting infantry. So ignore the strength. AP minus 2, flat 2 damage, which means it'll kill every single one of these that go through, kills the Space Marine. Now, the Chem Cannon does not ignore cover innately. So say you're shooting a Space Marines in cover. They'll get the benefit of cover against the Chem Cannon. So that's going to put them in a 2-up save. Then with the minus 2, they're going to save half the time, but every failed save is going to kill a Space Marine. So on average, shooting the Chem Cannon, you're going to kill 2 Space Marine intercessors, let's say, every time you shoot it. It doesn't count the Heavy Flamer, Heavy Bolter, Multi-Melta, and a Hunter-Killer Missile. Hopefully you're putting your Hunter-Killer Missiles into more valuable targets like vehicles because of the strength of those. But you could put that into a single target out of desperation. So the Chem Cannon is going to guarantee those kind of wounds and plink away. Once again, there's almost hardly anything in the Guard Army that's going to shoot at another unit and take it out in a single shot. You're always going to have, dare I say, overlapping fields of fire where you're placing multiple units into something. But this is going to guarantee that you kill a few Space Marines. Then those Space Marines, for example, lose the benefit of cover against everything else. So now they were getting a 2-up save, now they're at a 3-up save. Then you shoot say just a regular infantry squad with las guns into that Space Marine unit. Not even Kazarkin or Scions, right? We're talking just basic Cadians into them. Space Marines are only saving on a 3-up, but then you do the Fields of Fire stratagem, right? Because this unit does have the squadron keyword. And now you are wounding those Space Marines and they're only saving on a 4-up because they've lost cover. You got an extra AP minus 1. And suddenly you're way more effective. So when your opponent was like, oh yeah, you killed 2 Space Marines, whatever. And now suddenly the rest of your army is piling in the attacks and those Space Marines evaporate. They're gone. Chem Cannon, pretty good. Now let's talk about the Inferno Cannon. So the Flamer variant of this, the Inferno Cannon, is 18-inch range with ignores cover and torrent. So this one does ignore cover when you shoot it with the Inferno Cannon. And torrent means it auto hits as well, 2d6 shots. So you're ranging between 2 and 12 shots. No blast or anything. So it's just straight up 2 to 12 shots. You're going to average about 7 shots with this into your opponent's army. Auto hitting. So let's talk about the rest of its stats. 18-inch range is pretty good. You can really reach out and touch somebody with 1.5 feet of range on this unit. And you're looking at strength 6, AP minus 2, 1 damage. So that's where you got to weigh this against the Chem Cannon. Say against like Space Marines, Chem Cannon is going to kill Space Marine every time it goes through. Inferno Cannon, you're going to need 2 of these to go through because they're 1 damage each in order to kill a Space Marine. But, trade-off here, it's better against regular infantry, say like Cultists or other Guard models or Eldar, because you get ignores cover, AP minus 2. So you're going to take most of those models to no save or a 6-up save, maybe 5-up save at best. Rarely. But mostly 6 or nothing. And every time one of these goes through, it's a 1 wound unit. It's each of those models are gone. So it's very effective at killing light infantry. This one's better at killing elite infantry. So that's a good example, good way of thinking that. And this one, once again, has that kind of better range. Now, the final option, which I think is actually probably the least popular option. Oops, trying to get that magnet back in there. These are very easy to magnetize, by the way, so I would recommend it if you buy these kits. So if you're using the Melta Cannon, that is Blast and Melta 4. That's pretty good. And Blast is a bit odd on a Melta weapon, but it could come in handy if you're shooting, say, like Terminators, especially with Melta 4 or something else that's very elite. So I think this one has a lot more play. So Blast to Melta 4, 18-inch range, same as a multi-Melta. Now this is where I have problems with it. It is D3 attacks. A multi-melta is 2 shots. This is D3, so between 1 and 3 you're going to average 2. I really wish they would have just made this 2 or 3 shots. I don't like the random number of shots. I find it odd, and I'd rather have it be more consistent. I think if it was more consistent, I'd be more likely to run it. But that's a big gamble for what the output of this could be. So it is strength 9, minus 4 AP, D6 damage. So other than that, other than the Melta 4 and the D3 shots, it is exactly the same as a multi-Melta. Okay, so these have the same strength, AP, and damage profile, except for multi-Melta's Melta 2, Melta Cannon is Melta 4. That also means if you hit with the Melta Cannon and you wound, minimum 5 damage if you're 9 inches or less range. Minimum 5 damage. This thing can really punch a hole in some armor. I mean, it is super effective with the high AP and high Melta damage. If you can move this up quickly and get it within range of your opponent and then hit them with these shots, which by the way, it doesn't have torrent. So that means you actually got to roll to hit on a 4-up, but you're going to be doing damage. So with this one, I think this unit requires a bit more coordination like any other regular tank does. So you're probably going to do forward recon with your scout sentinels, give it reroll 1s, and you may want to have a tank commander or Leontis nearby to give it take aim so that it hits on 3s, rerolling 1s. Now that is absolutely terrifying with the amount of Melta damage you're going to be pumping out with this model. And it is absolutely terrifying. Okay, so we really have 3 different variants of this that all 3 play differently. We have the Chem Cannon that's going to kill our elite infantry. We have our Inferno Cannon that's going to kill our chaff. And we have our Melta Cannon that's going to just knock out some armor. Most of the time only wounding on 5s against bigger armored things. But say you come up against T9 vehicles or say like Drukhari transports and stuff, this will just evaporate it. Or even like Terminators, right? You'll be wounding Terminators on 3s and then putting them on their invuln saves. And then if you're in Melta range, each of those is a dead Terminator. So this is better at killing elites, light infantry, or elites, light vehicles, or medium vehicles in general to really punch those through. This one will require more support. So you really got to think about your list and how you're building it and how you're going to run it to bring this one in it. As I mentioned, you're going to want some other units to support it. This one here, though, or the Chem Cannon version, I would actually play these semi-aggressively. I would move them up very quickly, keep them hidden behind terrain, and then pop them out and punish your opponent for trying to take objectives, right? Clear away their chaff, clear away their infantry, and get rid of their cover. One of the things that goes best with this, or the Chem Cannon option, is artillery. So you drive it up, you shoot your opponent's unit, you don't kill them, right? You kill 2-3 models, and your opponent's like, oh, well, okay. And then you take your field ordnance batteries or your earth shakers, and you start lobbing rounds in. And now your opponent is like, what is going on? And they lose cover, so you get the full benefit of the AP. You could do Fields of Fire for extra AP as well. Do Daring Recon once again. Daring Recon to get your reroll 1s on your artillery. And now you're just absolutely slamming that unit that this is driven up, popped out, and shot at quickly. And so this is really good as a buffer unit itself for clearing your opponent off objectives. And that's why I would play that one a little cheeky and a little aggressive. Put it near your front line. Turn 1, move it up, hide it behind a piece of terrain most likely. Keep it out of charge range. Turn 2, pop out, shoot an enemy unit that is on one of the middle objectives. Or you can even put this in reserves. With 18-inch flamer range or 12-inch Chem Cannon range, you could feasibly bring this in from reserves, pop out, and then just annihilate some cheap unit that's hiding on a side or back objective. And that also is a really great way to kind of play this unit out. And then complement it with everything else, shooting at that enemy unit to take it out. So I really think that the Hellhound overall is a great unit, no matter which of the 3 options you build it with. I think all three have a role and a function. I think the melta cannon version is less likely to take just because you're going to get so few shots through. And we have other things that do really well, like the Lehman Russ variants, like the Demolisher tank or the Oppressor cannon or the Rogodorn, that just deal better damage, have better strength than this does. But it is an option that moves quickly, and it's a very small model, right? It's a Chimera chassis, so you can really tuck it into places and pop out and deal damage that way. So, but I think that's why this is the least popular option. You're only hitting on 4s without a bunch of buffs being dedicated to this unit. Whereas in the Inferno Cannon and Chem Cannon, you're guaranteed those hits. You're almost guaranteed the wounds, and you're really going to be able to like knock it out. And so I find this very valuable, and I think you should consider putting one of these in your lists. I often don't, simply because I love running so many units, so many other units, especially things like my aircraft and so forth. So I don't often throw Hellhounds in. But if I want a well-balanced all-comers list, this is a great addition to that and very effective unit as well. So I would recommend looking into getting one or two. And don't forget, you can magnetize these very easily. This is just, I think, a 2x2 millimeter magnet I got from the Magnet Baron. And it just helps me to pop this right back in here. I'm trying to do it with one hand. Whoopsies. Anyways, so you can quickly magnetize this. And even the hall-mounted weapon, put a little plastic card back behind there when you're building the model, drill a hole in it, put a magnet in it, put a magnet in these options, you can swap them out pretty quickly. So great kit, great weapons, and something I would really recommend to buff your army, especially if you think you need that extra like ignore cover or extra AP or extra guaranteed hits. This is a great way to get that into your list and add it to your strategic toolbox in the games that you play. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope you've enjoyed this unit review. I can't believe I waited this long to do the Hellhound. I don't know what's wrong with me. So we got our codex coming out soon, though. If you're watching this after the codex is dropped and I haven't updated it, it's because this is still relevant. They didn't really change the rules for the Hellhound. But I will be doing more unit reviews leading up to the codex drop and more after the codex drop, obviously, and updating you all there and talking about the detachments and so forth. So I think this is a great unit to have there and something really fun to play with. So definitely check it out and check out the other unit reviews as well. If there's something you think I should have mentioned or a tactic that you would want to recommend, please go down in the comments below and share it with everybody else. The more we talk and the more we share information, the more we know, the better we play, and the more we enjoy this game. So definitely get out there and let's support each other and enjoying this amazing game that is Warhammer 40k. Also, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it if you're enjoying these. I have lots of other unit reviews, painting tutorials, and even battle reports here on the channel that you can watch for your entertainment, and I appreciate each and every one of you that do so. So please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And also, there's links below if you'd like to support me by buying cool hobby products that I use in every game. I swear to God. Anything that's down below I use in almost every game. So check out the links below. And I even have some merchandise if you really want to get froggy and support me. And I appreciate all of you who have done that and bought a t-shirt or a hobby apron or so forth so far. So really means a lot for me. All right. As always, have fun wargaming. And remember, Cadia stands.